What's up, Nerd Nation? Aaron Stelle here with West, and I have the honor of sitting down with Drew Coleman here with the Drew Coleman team. Just wanted to kind of chat with him about the things that he's doing in his business. He's been very innovative, and I'm really excited to just chat with you and kind of get your insight on what's going on with the market right now too. But to start out, one of the things that you do that is unique is you do volunteer a lot of time for Realtor causes.
Yeah.
You're the president of Portland Association of Realtors. You're president-elect, I believe,
Elect.
for the state of Oregon. So
Yeah.
you're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
How has that been a benefit for you? What have you learned? How's it a benefit for your clients? And why do you invest all the time in this?
That's a good question, and the answer is because if you really are truly passionate about your clients, you care about what happens to them, and we care about what happens to our clients, like transactionally and stuff like that. But it goes beyond that for us, where a lot of things that affect home ownership are threatened. And there's a saying that if you're not at the table negotiating with people as decisions are being made legislatively, then you're on the menu. And I want to keep homeowners off of the menu. So protecting the home mortgage deduction, fighting for the rights of people that own property, that they can do what they want with that property. I think that's fundamental to the American dream, and I've seen some things that have pushed against that, and I don't want to be one who just stood by and did nothing.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is there anything right now, so along those lines, is there something that people should be aware of, or things that you're working on, or things that you need support for?
No, that's a good question, thank you for giving me a platform to say that. Yeah, I guess the first thing, just nationally, mortgage interest deduction is always one that we fight, but in the state of Oregon, where I work, there's a more active target of home mortgage deduction, and that is they're talking about removing home mortgage deduction on second homes, or means testing it for people who make over $250,000, which understandably the target would be, when they look at it, they're thinking, hey, it'll get these rich people. But
Right.
The challenge arises when sometimes you have people who might be going through a tough lifetime and they're divorcing, and they buy another house to move or downsize or something like that, but still keep the trailing house, and maybe they take 6 months to sell that trailing house. They might deduct interest on both of those homes. That's not really that's not Warren Buffett getting off his yacht and popping into his third house.
Right.
These are normal people trying to make life decisions in real estate transactions. So that's one to keep an eye on, that bill.
That's actually really good to know.
Yeah.
So I know, one of the other things that makes your team truly unique is, and I've sat down with a lot of agents, a lot of teams, throughout the Portland market, and even kind of across the country, and almost no one has an on-staff media team. You do all of your own stuff for your listings, all of your own promotional things. It's all in-house. So what brought you to do that? Having people on staff that obviously cost you money. What's kind of your thought process, and how do you leverage that?
That's a great question. First of all, we just saw where the industry was going, right?
Yeah.
You saw the time that people were spending on portals, whether it be Zillow or Realtor or Trulia, and you also see trends outside of your industry. How much are people on Bumble and Tinder, and how much are people looking at Instagram influencers? The
Right.
picture is so important.
Yep.
And really our job is to capture potential clients towards properties or towards our group, and then turn them over and try to make them willing to participate in real estate. And I just saw the writing on the wall that having an in-house media team was going to be important for that. It gives us creative control of the whole listing process, which is great. We recently kind of demoed a new process that's, as far as I know, we're the first ones in the whole Northwest to do. Where it's super time intensive, but it creates a depth of color and light on all of the furnishings in the home that no one else is doing. So because we're here and we're kind of in the lab together, we're able to do that. Now, how do we monetize it? Well, first of all, I think just by having it and doing things at a higher level, it monetizes itself. And we've been super blessed with enough business that we've taken our creative coordinator Evan, and we've added our kind of a designer Josh to that. And we recently also hired Megan, who has a background in TV news, because this space is not selling. this space isn't selling magazines. So I don't know, we've kind of become addicted by it because that's where people are. And I think the key to a good business is meeting people where they are. And if you see a need, hey, you know, I don't want to get into a dirty yellow cab. I want to be able to push the button and get in an Uber. Hey, I don't want to have, you know, someone taking a Polaroid camera out of storage and taking my listing photos. I want some professionals doing it. We think that's where the clients are.
Well, and so you bring up an interesting point. Like, number one, you guys do an incredible job with all your listings. I mean, you're using Matterport, you're using video, you're using professional photography. You know, how do you, like, now that you've got somebody in-house, you know, how do you decide how much energy to put into different listings at different price points or different areas or, you know, things along those lines?
I think what we've decided is we have not yet found a floor for where we're going to give the full, what I think others would consider the $1 million, $2 million experience. And I think that's where it's transformative because A, it's for everybody. And then, but that leaves us so that we're doing the same kind of things for a $200,000 listing as $2 million. So I think we've had to be more creative on the $2 million stuff, which is great. We're bringing what everyone else plus is doing on everything. And then to the newer stuff with creative partnerships and kind of new trials as far as how to use media and how to reach buyers, whether it's predictive analytics or data driving. Who's buying a $2 million home? Where are they coming from? How do we reverse engineer that? So that's been fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned, you know, you brought up that, you know, this face isn't selling any magazines.
Right, you're smiling,
So,
Aaron.
yeah, I mean, you have a beautiful face, but yeah.
Thank you. It's just, it keeps going up the top of my head now.
It's getting longer.
It's getting longer. Yeah.
So you know, with video, it's something you've adopted.
Yeah.
You've mixed in humor.
Yeah.
You've mixed in, you know, market updates to position yourself as an authority. Like, how did you get comfortable just being in front of a camera?
I don't think there's any way to get comfortable. It's just, I mean, you just do it by doing. It's just like anything else, right? The first time you get thrown into a swimming pool, you're just flopping around like a wet puppy dog. But you know, after time and you get some lessons and you get coaching and are willing to listen, you just get comfortable. But you know, the way you look's the way you look. I can't change it. I can get a better haircut or you know, try to dress like you, but it's still not going to change the dynamic that much.
You know, yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing about that is, you know, one of my favorite sayings when it comes to video is that, you know, the way you look and the way you sound is accepted by everyone else.
Yeah.
The only person that hasn't accepted the way you look and sound is you. You know, and it does take a little time to get comfortable with it, but you know, it's definitely practice, and you know, I'm far from perfect with it too. It's an evolving thing.
Well, it's funny, the Johari window talks about, you know, how you see yourself, how others see you, how you see yourself that no one else sees, and then there's the part that you don't know and others don't know. What's funny, you know, yourself on video is like the thing everyone else sees about you, but you don't see it. So it really is kind of a self-actualization exercise when you do see yourself more on video. It's like, this is the way I appear to other people in the world, and quite frankly, if they don't like you on video, they're probably not going to like you in person, and que sera, it's going to be.
So have you noticed, by the way, Johari window, good word.
Thanks.
Have you noticed, like, going into, because you know, you're a referral-based model for the most part, you know, you do a lot of advertising and things too, but have you had quicker, warmer interactions? Like, has it benefited you or helped you with people that you hadn't met previously by going in if they've seen a video of you?
Yes, yeah, it has. I think sometimes people will come in the house and they're like, "Oh, I feel like I know you already." "Oh yeah, that's you know, that's Ali on your team. That's Evan." "Oh yeah, right. We saw all that." So that does help. It warms the introduction. You know, it's still, people have to like you. I think it also helps people remain in your sphere and have a comfort level where you're top of mind. But you know, everyone knows 37 realtors, and you can't swing a dead cat anywhere in here, and especially in Florida, where 1 out of every 1.5 people are a realtor. I mean, across the country, everyone knows a realtor, so how do you differentiate yourself from them, whether it be market knowledge? And that's another reason I like being involved in the governance stuff, is I hear what Connecticut did from a tax increase standpoint and how that affected their home ownership rate, which dropped 10%, and we can speak to that. And then when I'm sitting with the homeowner and say, "Hey, this just passed rent control, Senate Bill 608 just passed here in Oregon. What will that mean for you?" Well, in other states, and what we found is Zillow actually increased rent rates 9% the day after this bill came into place. So if you wanted to rent your house out, maybe now's a better time, even versus a worse time. Maybe it's not. So being educated is fun, and I like being a lifelong learner. Like, I know that you and the people who watch these videos, that's kind of their commitment as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you brought up your team, and there's a couple of things that we've been working together now for several years. And one thing I've noticed about you is, number one, you have very little turnover on your team, and number two, you put them out front a lot. It's not always just you. So what is it that you do that keeps your team together, keeps them happy, and allows you to have basically this same group of people you work with for years at a time?
Well, you try to treat them right, and I think if you try to hide them behind, they're just gonna, there can be a resentment there too. Now, when you put people out front, the risk is always, well, someone else is gonna try to sweeten it, but that's life, right? I mean, I just don't think you can live your life in fear, and we've been blessed to have a lot of people that wanted us to help them through transitions, and we just love it. I mean, every day I get excited. I was putting a free desk on Craigslist yesterday and meeting someone who drove their diesel truck down from Woodland to pick the thing up, and my brother and I are hiking that thing into the truck. I mean, serving people is a timeless art, and when people give you the opportunity to do that, I think it's great. And plus the team becomes family. We do a lot of things together. So, we do a retreat every year where we try to have some fun and do our strategic planning, and we try to celebrate birthdays, and we try to go out. We went to happy hour yesterday where we brainstormed, and living a life of abundance. You can either treat it as, oh, this is a very small pie, but in Oregon or in Portland in our market, even the top selling person in our market it still accounts for 1% or less of the business.
Right.
There's a ton to do. So there's lots of people to work with, and if they feel like they benefit from us, we've got the team to do it, I hope.
Yeah, that's, I love that philosophy. It's the thought of treating it like as something that is abundant versus scarcity, where you're always trying to hold it or squeeze it.
Yeah.
It's just such a better place to come from, and I think it resonates really well. So you and your team, obviously, by having a marketing person, like you guys adopted drone and 3D almost before anybody else, or right when it was on the forefront. What other things are you seeing? Like, both from, you were talking about kind of the battles you see inside of the realtor causes and things like that. But what else do you see out there in regards to technology and marketing that you think is either changing, or it's being passed by, or it's important?
Well, I mean, I enjoy keeping up to date on those things, and then you have to evaluate it yourself. It's like developments in any market, and financial people are betting on stocks to do higher or lower. We're having to do the same thing with, you're evaluating technologies, and you're going to trade fairs, and does this sound good? Is this going to change the world? Is it not? We thought Matterport was pretty transformative, and the fact that you could sit in your pajamas in Tokyo and tour a house and get a pretty dang good feel for it, and that was, 10, 15 years ago now, and that's been really good. I mean, the buzz now would be something like, iBuyers are still a big deal, and now we're seeing them in this market with Opendoor actively participating in our market, and Zillow a couple weeks from participating in our market. HomeLight has their own version. Keller Williams is adopting one. I've heard EXP is as well. So paying attention to that sort of thing, and it's not just the product.
Right.
What is it trying to tell us? Well, it's trying to tell us that people will take certainty in a real estate process, sometimes in exchange for cost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's telling us our clients want certainty, and they want something that they know they can count on. How can we provide that? And we make an adjustment. Redfin yesterday in the news was that they're removing, they're making it so that a buyer can go directly buy a property. I think in Boston is what they're doing, or Chicago, it might be Chicago. You can buy the property directly, and you put it in the fields, and then the listing agent still lists it, but then they just buy it directly. I think what that's telling us is that sometimes buyer's agents create friction instead of help. Does that mean buyer's agents are worthless? No, we work with probably more buyers than a lot around here, but people want convenience out of that. They don't want to wait 3 weeks for you to go off your cruise so that they can write the offer on the house they want, and if they can get that started. So how do we adapt our business model to be more instantaneous, while also keeping our work family healthy and happy, because we can't have everyone working 90 hours a day either. So those are the fun things that I get to work on, and I love those projects.
So you brought up, Zillow, Redfin, Opendoor. There's all of these platforms out there doing it. And so in your opinion, is this something where you need to fight it to try to hold on to what you're doing? Is it something you're like, no, that's just a different model, and our value is somewhere else? Or how do what do you think about these companies that are coming in, and what is it going to do to the industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's nothing that we try to fight.
Yeah.
I was talking to you off camera a little bit beforehand about how, when you get politicians, they're really indicative, and whether you like them or not, they speak for what a lot of the populace is feeling. And I think these companies are where people are voting somehow, they're voting with their dollars. And again, the preponderance of business is still done by agents that we would probably call traditional model agents, but we're seeing some of these new models come into the market. But I think it's not a time to be fearful, but it's a time to say, well, what are these people wanting, and what do the fact that these are gaining some traction tell us about, and should we have some model adjustments here and there to make sure that our technology is up to speed and that we're creating fluid transaction and not putting friction in the transaction, and what should we throw out, what's the sacred cow that we should slaughter and move on. So I like, that's what I enjoy about business, is that it changes every day, and real estate's a job that no 2 days are the same at all.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, Drew, I know you're a super busy guy. I really appreciate your time and sitting down with me, and I'll look forward to getting this out. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. I mean, email's great, drew@drewcoleman.com, and you could call me as well. I'm still a strange millennial that prefers a phone call to a text maybe. So 503-908-4909 is good for both.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, buddy.